Okay, and we're streaming live now.
All right, thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'd like to call the Tuesday, December 14th TAC meeting to order. And if Mr. Parsons would give the statement regarding virtual meetings, please.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. The meeting, well, I think this meeting is the last in our scheduled meetings of virtual TAC meetings. So today we are using the Zoom webinar format. So anyone that is attending as a member of the public that is not a panelist can utilize the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen to submit any questions or comments throughout the meeting. We do record this and it is streaming live on YouTube. Starting in January, the City of Richmond's emergency declaration, which has allowed us to continue meeting virtually, expires at the end of December. So starting in January, our next meeting of the Transportation Advisory Committee, Technical Advisory Committee will be held at our offices at 9211 Forrestal Avenue. We still will be streaming meetings live. So members of the public will be able to follow along, probably unchanged from the way the appearance is today, but members of the committee, we will be meeting in person, and we'll make sure that we send out plenty of reminders before the January meeting so that everyone can remember to schedule time for the commute. Madam Chair, that's it for the statement, and we can move on with the agenda.
All right, thank you, Chet. Janice, could you please call a roll?
Yes, ma'am. Town of Ashland, Miss Amos.
Here.
Chesterfield County, Miss Smith.
Here.
Miss Walker. Goochland County, Mr. Coleman.
Here.
Hanover County, Mr. Vidunez.
Here.
Henrico County, Vice Chair Smidler.
Here.
I'm sorry, I missed Hanover County, Mr. Flagg. And then back to Henrico County, Mr. Yore. New Kent County, Chair Leduc.
I'm here.
Powhatan County, Mr. Shardine. City of Richmond, Miss Clark.
Here.
Mr. Bridewell.
Here.
Capital Region Airport Commission, Mr. Rutledge. DRPT, Ms. Dubinsky.
Here.
Mr. Sparks. GRTC Transit System, Ms. Robinson.
Here.
Plan RVA, Mr. Parsons.
Here.
Ride Finders, Ms. Tisdale. And Mr. O'Keefe.
Here.
RMTA, Ms. Simmons. VDOT, Ms. McAdory.
I'm here, and just real quick, I'm going to be leaving shortly, so Nicole's taking over in a few minutes.
Okay, great, thank you. Ms. Mueller.
Here.
All right, thank you. That concludes the roll call for attendance, and we do have a quorum.
All right, great. All right, we'll move on to item 2. Are there any amendments to the agenda today? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to approval of the November meeting minutes.
This is Barb. Move for approval.
This
Thank
is
you,
John,
Barb. Okay.
John O'Keefe. I'll second.
All right, thank you, John. We got a motion to approve the minutes and second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed or abstain? All right, minutes are approved. Thank you. And we'll go on to item 4, any open public comments? Any?
Haven't received any, no.
Okay. Nothing in the chat. Okay. All right, great. We'll move on. Chairman's report. Guess I'll see you all in person in January. Hope you all have a good Christmas. And we'll move on to item 6 with the TPO update. Mr. Parsons.
Sorry, I was muted. I'm sharing my screen. The current work efforts. I'm not sure how many on the call are connected to East Coast Greenway, but the Virginia coordinator has announced her resignation. It was probably 2 months ago now. And I think that they are still underway for the search for who will replace Sarah. But this is kind of a timely effort now with the work that's being done with Fall Line and how to make sure everything moves forward. The Trolley Line Trail Study is continuing to move forward with assistance from the National Park Service, and they're focusing now on some of the concepts for amenities and self-guided tours, the wayfinding and interpretive signage, and that kind of thing. There are links in the agenda packet to 2 story maps that have been developed for the history of the trolley line, and also a design sketchbook. The bike ped plan is one of the major efforts that we're undertaking right now with as the current schedule for the plan to come before the TPO on May 5th, I believe. It's the May TPO meeting, policy board meeting for approval. Between now and then, there's a fairly extensive public involvement planned for a couple months in early spring, and then taking all that and condensing it and revising it as needed to come up with the recommended plan. This is a component of Connect RVA 2045, but it will stand on its own as a bike ped plan that can hopefully be a resource for many of the folks in our region. The Vision Zero work group, as of last night, I actually got a early draft of a regional action plan from VDOT and their consultant, and we'll be working with many of you who are serving on the Vision Zero work group to schedule a meeting probably sometime in February to review that plan and make sure that we're moving forward to everybody's satisfaction and making that happen. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Ken Lance, who is standing beside me to give an update of the Community Transportation Advisory Committee agenda.
Good morning. I'm having difficulties connecting this morning, so I'm going to step in here for just a minute. The next meeting of the Community Transportation Advisory Committee is scheduled for Thursday, January the 20th. And we have 3 presentations scheduled. 2 of them are rail related. First, we're going to get an overview on the state rail planning effort by Randy Selleck of the Department of Rail and Public Transportation. And then we're going to learn about the Virginia Passenger Rail Authority. Catherine Youngbluff with the authority will be giving us a presentation on an overview of the authority and some of its upcoming work. And our third presentation will be an update on the City of Richmond's Paths to Equity, which is their ongoing transportation planning effort, which is related to how can they more equitably provide transportation to the citizens of Richmond. So those are the presentations that are slated for our January 20th CTAC meeting. And I'll be glad to take any questions. Thanks. Sorry.
Okay, so Madam Chair, at this point, I'd like to, the last item in the RRTPO update, I'd like to turn it over to Greta Ryan to provide an update on our safety performance measures.
Okay, I think, Janice, you're getting my slides ready?
Yes.
Good morning, everyone.
Can you see the slides now?
That's on the wrong side,
Okay, there we go.
and they're not as a slideshow. But anyway, In January, the TPO is submitting to VDOT the annual Federal Safety Performance Measure Letter, which outlines the safety goals and targets for 2022. And there are 5 measures for which the targets are set. There are fatalities, fatality rate, serious injury rate, and the non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries. VDOT forecasts the increase or decrease in the crashes. You could go on to the next slide. Thank you. So VDOT forecasts the increase and decrease in the crashes and develops a percent change, which they use statewide. They also include behavioral and population factors into developing these goals for each of the targets. So this year, the TPO will use these target goals that VDOT had set back in August. VDOT also provides the MPOs with the target setting workbooks that contain specific data for our MPO. And we plug in these goals that VDOT has set into the workbook, and we get the target values you see at the bottom of the slide. Even though these are called targets, it doesn't mean that we are aiming for these. We would like to have a lot lower than what these numbers suggest. But unfortunately, that may be the case where the region is heading. So that will help, guide a lot of the programming in the TPO to really focus on safety, as the Vision Zero work group is helping us work on. So these are the values on the bottom that we will be submitting in the letter in January. If there are any questions? Thank you.
All right, thank you, everybody. Is Chris Wishman on with us? He's next for item 7. Oh,
Actually,
I don't see
Kelly, it's going to be Chitender.
okay.
And
Oh, okay.
he's not joined us yet either. So if it's okay, can we move on to item 8 and come back?
Yes, I think he
Sure.
said he's not going to be able to join until about 9:30, so he should be on shortly.
Yeah, that's fine. Miles, you ready? You'll skip to item 8.
Sure. Good morning. Let me pull up my screen.
Morning.
So item 8 that we have for you is an endorsement request for a Safe Routes to Schools program. So Safe Routes to Schools is a federal program to improve safety and increase walking and biking to school among students. Historically, Safe Routes to Schools was its own separate program under the Safety LU legislation 2005, but since then it's been merged with the overall TA program. So it's all one pot now. VDOT has been able to continue funding the non-infrastructure programs using the old money, and they've been kept separate and outside of TA until this round. So the funding has finally dried up, and now they have to go through the regular TA process. So Richmond Public Schools works with Fit for Kids for their Safe Routes to Schools program. The Safe Routes to Schools coordinator submitted an application for TA, but did not request an MPO endorsement back during the summer. TPO staff has been working with VDOT staff, and we've reached an agreement so that the application can continue to proceed with the expectation that we'll submit our resolution of endorsement by January. This is just endorsing the application to move forward through the process. This doesn't commit any funding to the project. So the requested action that we have is a recommendation on the following resolution. There's basically 4 parts. The first is noting that all applications within the MPO boundary require an MPO endorsement. The second notes that this is the first round where the non-infrastructure programs are required to go through the TA set-aside process. The third notes that they submitted an application, but it wasn't on our endorsement list. And so finally, we resolved that we are endorsing this application for FY23 to FY24. So that's the requested action. Again, this was an oversight, and we're trying to correct it so this project or this program can move forward through the funding process. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Okay, if there's no questions, would someone like to make a motion?
This is
Oh, yeah, I'll move
Dirona.
for approval. Oh, I'm
Mhm.
sorry, Dorona.
Thanks, Joe. This is Dirona. I'll move for approval of the requested action.
I'll second
Okay.
that.
All right, thank you, Dorona and Joe. All in favor, say aye, or do we need to do a roll? I'm sorry, I never know.
I suggest just doing a roll call, just to be safe.
Okay, thank you. Janice, can you call the roll?
Yes, Town of Ashland, hold on one second, I'm on the wrong screen. Town of Ashland, Miss Amos.
Aye.
Chesterfield County, Miss Smith.
Aye.
Goochland County, Mr. Coleman. Do we have Mr. Coleman still?
Candace, your microphone is low now.
Okay. 1 second. All right, can you hear me better now?
Little bit.
Goochland County, Mr. Coleman.
There we go.
Aye.
Thank you. Hanover County, Mr. Vadunez.
Aye.
Henrico County, Vice Chair Smidler.
Aye.
New Kent County, Chair Ledoux.
Aye.
City of Richmond, Ms. Clark.
Aye.
CRPT, Ms. Dubinsky.
Aye.
GRTC, Ms. Robinson.
Aye.
Plan RVA, Mr. Parsons.
Aye.
Right Finders, Mr. O'Keefe.
Aye.
And VDOT, I believe Ms. McAdory had to go ahead and leave. Is that correct? I think she's
That's
not with
right.
us anymore. Okay,
That's
so
right.
Ms.
This-
Mueller.
I would aye.
Thank you. That concludes the roll call for that item.
Okay, thank you. Miles, do you want to move on to item 9?
Sure. So this next item I have for you is a funding request for RSTP from the City of Richmond. This is project UPC 15958. That's the Commerce Road Improvement Project. This is coming to you a little out of the normal cycle because this is a time-sensitive request based on bids and trying to award a contract. So, little project background. The Commerce Road Improvement Project has a long history. It dates back to the mid-90s, 1996. It started as a VDOT administered project. It's moved over to the city's administration. The current TPO allocations start with the FY15 award cycle. So we awarded $2.05 million out of a total $14.5 million cost that was supposed to be fully funded at the time. But there were issues that have come up with funding and with CSX that have led to delays. So it's experienced delay and cost increases. The TPO's allocated nearly $3.5 million in additional funding since then. And the project was recently advertised and the estimate has increased again. So the last estimate at the SIP was 21.76. The new estimate for the project is 28.7. So that's about a third increase there. So a little bit of detail on the allocations. I mentioned it was 21.76. Of that, about 25.2% is RSTP. Just under 31% is urban funding, and then 44% was local funding. Based on the city's analysis of the funding, they have a $6.5 million deficit that needs to be filled to be able to move forward into construction. And they are requesting $3.5 million in RSTP to help fill that gap. So the first thing we turned to was the funding framework. So sponsors are able to request additional funding, but one of the requirements is they do look to use local or outside funding first to meet any needs. The second piece that comes from the guidance is that requests of more than 10% have to go through a two-step process. This hasn't changed from previous versions of the guidance, but it's basically a TAC recommendation and policy board approval. The $3.5 million request is a 63.7% increase in TPO allocations. So this has to go through that two-step process. And during that process, TAC can recommend any of the following. We can recommend to scale back the project to fit within the existing budget. recommend using local or other non-RRTPO funds, either in part or in full, to meet the request, or can use the RSTP funding from the balance entry in part or in full to meet the request. So staff updated our analysis of the balance entry. We do have sufficient funds available. It's about a net of 10.4, I believe, between previous and 2027. So there is enough funding available for us to be able to meet this need. One thing to note is using FY23 or later dollars will impact our ability to fund any other existing or new projects this round, since that is taking away from that surplus that's available to use. So some other key considerations. This project has a long history. As I noted, it's been in the works since the 90s. So there really is a need to advance and move forward to construction. On the funding side, the TPO has already taken on an increased share over time. So when the project was initially selected, I mentioned it was a $14.5 million total cost with $2 million in RSTP, so that was about 14%. It's now up to 28.7, and our allocations have already increased to just under 5.5. So we've already more than doubled the allocations on the project while the cost has doubled. With the new request, TPO funding would be just under $9 million. It'd be 4.4 times the original commitment from the TPO. And the TPO would be covering over 50% of this deficit. Another key consideration is that there are 11.3 million in other existing RSTP projects that are requests for this round. And that includes several other projects which are in or about to start construction. So they're competing essentially for the same time period of money as well. So the staff recommendation is a partial award of the request. So the reward of 1.642 million. Basically what this does is match the 25.2% that was RSTP out of the total project allocations to 25.2% of the deficit. This would require the city to use an additional 1.858 million in local or other funds to fill the difference beyond the 3 million that they didn't request from the TPO. But that's the staff recommendation based on the considerations of existing requests and the project history. The resolution that we have before you does that. So it transfers everything that we have in previous funding, less $2 that are unmatched that we couldn't use. And then the remainder would come out of FY23. So that's what the proposed resolution does for tax consideration. If TAC does want to alter the amount, please make the motion general so that we can work on the years and be able to go back and look at the funding rather than recommending specific years. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Okay, open up for questions.
Madam Chair, this is Diana.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Miles, for your work on this, as well as the TAC members for considering this request. The Commerce Road project, like Miles said, has been in the works a long time, and there's specifically in that time a bridge that goes over a creek has deteriorated and will be caused to be shut down, which is really an access point for the port, as well as for just if there's incidents on 95 coming onto Commerce Road, so secondary road to I-95. And like Miles said, the city has found through its CVTA local funding to fill the gap of the 3 million, and the request was for 3.5 million from the TPO. And just a little bit of history with the request, there was approximately 1.1 million that was applied for with that project under the CMAQ funds, under the CMAQ program. But there was some mix up with VDOT and the TPO and the city on whether or not that this project was a widening project or not. And so then it became incorrectly ineligible. And so that was also another 1.1 million that we lost from TPO funding for this project. And again, is the reason why we requested the 1.6, which would have been the cost increases and inflation, but also accounting for the mishap in regard to the $1.1 million for the CMAQ funds. So the city asked that some consideration be given for the full request, as the project is currently set for construction and would be a 2-year cycle. And so if today we can only ask or get approved the 1.6 million as recommended by the staff, we do ask for some consideration in this resolution, or for potentially and the additional funds, 1 million or 1.8 million in the following in FY24 dollars. If the board today doesn't feel comfortable with, again, changing the amount to the full requested of 3.5. So while I may have caused more questions to want to be asked, I did want to give that little bit of background information on this project and our request.
All right, thank you. Do we have any other questions or comments? I saw Barb might have a question she put in the chat.
I think Joe had his hand up first.
Oh, okay. Ah, I see that. Okay. Go ahead, Joe.
Thank you, Barb. Dorona, just for clarification, what is the total shortfall amount between what is funded and what you need, regardless of where that shortfall will come from? What's the total shortfall?
Yeah, the 6.5 number that they're showing there.
And right now, so essentially the city is right now is offering to put up the 3 million, and then the request is for 3.5.
Yes.
So Hanover is in a similar situation, and we'll be coming to this group with a similar request. It's a smaller amount, but it's a project that dates to the 90s. I kind of like the idea of splitting the difference 50-50. I think there's so much history in a project like this and ours, and so many things have happened that, it's not like a normal circumstance. And I think the fair way to go, and I want to be consistent because I think our request is essentially going to be take the 6.5 and go 50-50 TPO local funds, and which is essentially what you've done. It would be the dollars would be a little bit different there, but that's my feeling on it, and I would support that.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Barb.
Thank you. I don't oppose the 50-50 idea, but at the same time, do want to say that it makes sense what staff has proposed, where the percent split between the different fund sources is applied towards the deficit. So that's logical, and I appreciate that. Where are you in the process? I wasn't paying attention at the very beginning. Has it been advertised?
Oh yeah, we received the bid package back in, and so it's been opened and it's ready to go.
Okay, so you advertised it once, and how many bids did you get?
Travis, do you know that number?
No, I don't.
Yeah, I can check with you, Barb, and follow up.
Yeah, I was curious, and I feel like it's important when we are in this situation at advertisement that we know how many bidders and what those bids were, like if the bids were tight. So that, did you consider re-advertising the project?
Barb, I just got a response. We received 5 bids.
Ooh, that's nice.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm assuming that they were relatively close to each other.
I'll check again.
But I think as just sort of a process thing, Miles, that if we could see the bids received, so we can see that the bids were close. And going back to my other question, did the city consider re-advertising the project?
It would make sense for us to re-advertise.
So we did not re-advertise because they were very competitive.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Okay.
If I can jump in for a moment, Madam Chair, the reason we didn't share the bids is since nothing's been awarded, obviously, we didn't want to put too much information out in the packets. So
You're
that
right.
was our thought on holding back there. But staff was able to get that information from the city.
Okay, yeah, so maybe just a general statement in, when we're dealing with projects that have been advertised, because I think, yeah, you're right. Our procurement people might be funny about that.
This is Travis. I just talked to the bridge engineer. He did not re-advertise. And he's inquiring about the number of bids. I believe, Dorona, you said it was 5?
Yeah, I have Lamont.
Okay, you have that, okay.
Engineer online, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, the question really was whether you considered re-advertising, whether you thought there might be value in, but Dorona already pointed out that the bids were close and competitive, so.
And the time with the bridge, it's not advantageous to keep it going on and on.
Yeah. Okay, well, I can support Joe's proposal.
Awesome. Madam Chair, I think Madam Vice Chair has her hand up.
Oh, you're right. Okay, go ahead, Sharon. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. This is Sharon. I can certainly sympathize with, projects being bid and coming in over budget. I know Henrico has a few applications where we've requested for RSTP, CMAC, STBG, additional funding for some of our projects that are finishing up the right-of-way stage. I thought the TPO's staff's proposal for the additional funding proportionate to the STBG funding was logical and fair. So no questions, just wanted to put in my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Any other comments or questions? Okay, can someone make a motion then?
I guess since I brought it up, I might as well put it in the form of a motion to take the shortfall amount, total shortfall amount, and have it have the TPO cover half of that cost, or approximately half of that cost, as Miles suggested, with the balance to be covered by the city.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
I'm sorry, I was just going to second Joe's motion.
Okay, thank you, Dorona. All right, we got a motion for approval in a second. Ms. Firestone, will you call the roll, please?
Madam Chair, before we get to that,
ahead.
this is Miles. Just to clarify Joe's motion for staff's records, is your motion for the 3.5 as requested originally, which is, I think, 54% or whatever it was?
No, it was actually 50%. I can't remember the exact dollar figures, but it was a shortfall of about 6 million.
Yeah, it was. Okay,
you had a slide with that amount.
Yep, it's 6.5 something, but it's 50% of that. Is that the motion?
50% of that, I would say approximately 50% of that, as you suggested, you might need to a dollar here or there. I don't think would be an issue.
Thank you.
Okay. Any more discussion before the roll?
Madam Chair, this is Chet. Just to be a stickler, can we include a dollar amount in the motion?
All right, Joe.
Yeah, yes, if somebody brings up that other slide,
There we go.
okay, so give me a second.
I've got it.
Okay,
3,253,118. 3,253,118.
that would be the TPO share. I agree.
Thank you all.
All right, do we want to start from the beginning? With a revised motion, or are we good to go? I'm not very good with that legal part.
I just summarized real quickly, the TPO would contribute $3,253,118 towards this project, with the balance provided by the city of Richmond.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Is that good, Dirona?
Yep, I second that.
All right, thank you all. Janice, if you call the roll, please.
Ma'am, Town of Ashland, Miss Amos.
Aye.
Chesterfield County, Miss Smith.
Aye.
Goochland County, Mr. Coleman.
Well, we can't hear you, Janice. We lost you again.
Okay. Okay, can you hear me now, Mr. Coleman?
Yep.
Okay. I'll go back. Hanover County, Mr. Badunas.
Aye.
Henrico County, Vice Chair Smidler.
Aye.
Thank you. New Canaan County, Chair LaDuke.
Aye.
City of Richmond, Miss Clark.
Aye.
DRPT, Miss Dubinsky.
Aye.
GRTC, Miss Robinson.
Aye.
Plan RVA, Mr. Parsons.
Aye.
Ride Finders, Mr. O'Keefe.
Aye.
And VDOT, Miss Mueller.
Aye.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That concludes the roll call for that item.
All right, thank you. And I see Jitender's on the line, so if we want to go back to item 7, whenever you're ready.
Good morning, everyone. Is this the point where I start introducing myself and sharing my deck?
Sounds good. Yes.
All right. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of this esteemed technical committee. My name is Jitender Ramchandani. I've worked with you, seen you in a different capacity for a few years. I'm here to present a board policy, Commonwealth Transportation Board policy, and make this committee aware, and then of course be available to answer any questions that are related to that. So with that, I will try to share my slide deck and see if I have any luck with that. Are you all able to see my screen at this point?
Yep, that's good.
Yeah.
All right. So again, my name is Jitender Ramchandani. I'm with the Office of Intermodal Planning and Investment, which is one of the 3 surface transportation agencies focusing on transportation matters. Our office focuses on transportation policies issue, and in my role, I focus on the statewide transportation planning efforts.
Hey, Jitender.
Yes.
Sorry, it looks like you're in presenter view. If you wanted to try and make it full screen.
Sure.
There we go.
All right.
Thank you.
So I focus on this VTrans, which is the state's transportation plan, and as well as the growth and technical assistance Growth and Accessibility Planning Technical Assistance Program. The purpose of this presentation is to share a few more details related to a Commonwealth transportation policy that was adopted last week. And more importantly, share some of the key takeaways for local jurisdictions and the TPO in attendance today, as well as any public members from the public that may have joined this meeting or watching this video. So VTrans, which is Virginia's Surface Transportation Plan, has four major components. Many of you deal with what we refer to as the midterm needs. Those are the issues of here and now, where we have the congestion problems, travel time reliability problems, need for transit access, bicycle access. So the transportation needs that are identified in the Commonwealth's transportation plan become eligible for Smart Scale, which is one of the major funding pots for new construction. This presentation focuses on the long term. So many of you are probably aware that all MPOs in state are required to do planning for 20+ year horizon. So as we were doing the plan, we sort of started thinking, what does it mean to be planning for 25 years from now? And what level of confidence we will have in those results? And more importantly, what will we do with those, right? And what we found is that we did not see a great deal of value in creating artificial precision. So if we were to run a travel demand model today, it will probably tell us, and I'm sure it will tell us, what the congestion will be like on northbound 95 at exit 183 at 8 o'clock in the morning, right? And it will give us a number, right? But how confident are we in that number, and what do we want to be making decisions based on those numbers? And the conclusion that we came to, and we recommended to the board, that we avoid that level of artificial precision. Just because we can run a number or we can generate a number, that doesn't make it a whole lot any more meaningful. So what we did is we adopted this approach of risks and opportunities, which is to say that we don't know what the future holds based on the information available, and we relied on academic, nonpartisan sources, as opposed to more speculative information that you may see on day-to-day news coverage. And we said, well, let's focus on the risks and opportunities that we can identify, and let's monitor them in a systematic manner. So that's the track that we took, because we found that from the policymaking perspective, that's where we have the most value. So we developed this policy framework that we presented to the board, and LTROR stands for Long-Term Risk and Opportunity Register, and another acronym for you all to remember. And what we focused on is external things. We know how much money we are going to have, more or less, right? There is greater certainty around that. So let's just focus on external things that are beyond our control, things that are global in nature, are not controlled necessarily by Virginia, or for that matter, any one country, in some cases. So, and focusing on those mega and macro trends and how they impact in step 2, the goals that we have adopted. What are the impacts in step 3? Based on those impacts, what are the risks and opportunities in step 4? And how will we monitor them? Step 5. So I will not go through all of these details, and I will provide the resources for those but I will focus on things that are of relevance to the group that is in attendance today, and especially the MPO staff and leadership that might be working on the long-range transportation plan. So step 1, external factors. And so what we thought of as 4 mega trends: climate, technology, consumption, socio-demographic. There are 10 macro trends. So a mega trend can have multiple macro trends. And there are definitions and plenty of information in the guidance, in the technical guidance that we have. We found these 10 macro trends. It is flooding risk, which is not only a coastal issue, but inland flooding. autonomous vehicle, electric vehicles, shared mobility, e-commerce, automation, and automation of production, things that we typically don't focus on in transportation domain, as well as growth of professional service industry, and what we have seen based on that growth, workplace flexibility, and the growth of 65 plus cohort and population employment changes. So we are focusing on what are the impacts of these 10 macro trends on the transportation goals and objectives. And so Commonwealth Transportation Board has adopted 5 goals. The goal 1 is economic competitiveness, which is essentially saying we want to reduce congestion, improve travel time reliability. And what we said is that, again, we don't know, based on the evidence that is available, what congestion will be like. Will automated vehicles help with congestion, or will they increase congestion? There's not a great level of precision out there. But what we do know is the impact based on academic research, impact on vehicle miles traveled. And what this slide is showing for the PDCs that are in Virginia, vehicle miles travel impacts, and we estimate on the statewide basis 4 to 17% increase in vehicle miles traveled over and above any increase due to population growth. So that's a noteworthy point. We are not interested in just the impacts of the population growth or migration and things of that sort. We are interested in these 10 things. The next one was shared mobility. And what this slide is showing that based on the estimates that we estimate 9 to 27% increase in shared mobility, which is micro mobility, which is scooters, electric bikes, ride sourcing, Ubers and Lyft. So single occupancy vehicles switching to these shared mobility modes. Safety, we estimate, and this chart is showing for each and every jurisdiction in the Commonwealth, we have these numbers, and I will share that in a minute on a resource. We estimate a decrease in between 26 and 67% decrease in number of crashes involving fatalities and serious injuries. I know safety is the #1 priority for many MPOs, if not #1, a very high priority. So this is a noteworthy point, and so to share with your policy board members as well. Roadways at risk from flooding. So this chart is showing cumulative flooding from inland riverine, storm surge, and sea level rise. Roadways, cumulative directional miles at risk from flooding for all PDCs, and we have these numbers at the jurisdictional level as well. Tailpipe emissions is another example that based on these trends, we estimate a decrease in tailpipe emissions. By the way, on these charts, one is business as usual scenario. So if you see a decrease, 0.8 means 20% decrease from business as usual, right? So these are 5 key takeaways, and we have identified 19 risks and opportunities that we plan on monitoring in the coming months and years. We have resources available, the policy guide and the technical guide for those who are interested in replicating these results. The charts that I was showing you, they are available for all PDCs, MPOs, and localities on Interact VTrans at this location. Because again, this information is only of use, and these risks and opportunities can only be addressed while working with our regional partners. So we identified these key takeaways. The question really is, what can the group that is in attendance today do about these, right? We always see these information, but what can we do about them? So there are 5 things that we have shared for you. One is share with your policy board members. I think often the planning is focused on here and now. What project are we going to submit for the next round of smart scale, right? In my mind, that there is also some value in avoiding things from becoming problems, right? In my mind, that's where planning can have great value. So sharing with your policy board members, and we can provide resources to you, slides, materials that you like, videos, so that they have, when they are making these decisions, they have a sort of a bigger picture in mind. The second one is, which is what we are trying to do, is making jurisdictions aware. Several of these issues are actionable, I would say. An example would be curb management. Curb management refers to how we manage our curb space. We are used to hearing this term access management, right? But curb management, you will hear more and more in the coming months and years. FHWA, in fact, has a division that is focusing on curb management. If you will start seeing in Northern Virginia, Washington, DC, they have started hiring full-time staff members. Their sole responsibility is curb management. So what that refers to is where you can have Ubers and Lyfts, where are they allowed to park? Do they have designated spaces? Where you have e-commerce delivery sites, are they at designated spaces, or any UPS truck can pull in front of any curb space and just utilize it and block the traffic? How we utilize the sidewalks when it comes to electric vehicles, electric bikes that can travel at 25 miles per hour. They are essentially vehicles that are traveling on your sidewalks in many jurisdictions. And I don't know if many of these sidewalks were meant for vehicles that are traveling at 25 miles per hour. So there are issues that you can start addressing. Number 3 is, how will this impact your long-range transportation plans? And instead of having a definitive plan, is there an alternative approach that you can think of? Monitoring these 19 risks and opportunities is important. We will be doing that, and if you all and the group has any interest, we'll be happy to come back. And finally, I want to make everyone in the group aware that we have made resources available. An example is we have a growth and accessibility planning technical assistance program that provides technical assistance to localities as well as regional entities to study emerging issues. An example I will give you right now, we have a technical assistance with the city of Leesburg, where they are evaluating dynamic curb management. How they have a downtown area and they want to see and they are experiencing traffic issues because any vehicle can stop. There is a demand for on-street parking, commercial, delivery vehicles. There is scooters, Ubers that are wanting to use that space, and they want to do dynamic curb management. We also have made resources available as far as the data sets. We have identified specific roadways that are at risk from flooding. You can start incorporating that into your decision making, which is to say that long-range transportation plan can say, well, here is a project that is in our long-range transportation plan, and here is a roadway that was flagged for potential risk to flooding. Can we take a look at this? Can we take a look at the scope and see how flooding risk is addressed? Is the risk and reward worth modifying the scope to accommodate flooding risk, to make changes to the drainage plan, or accommodate how the stormwater is handled? So there are things that you can do now, and that is why I'm here to sort of share this with you and not to make it too abstract, in other words. So as far as the next steps are concerned, we have been tasked to monitor these long-term risks and opportunities, work with VDOT and DRPT on the actions that have been identified. And finally, the third, which is why I'm here, which is to inform local and regional jurisdictions of the available resources that exist. So with that, I will share my contact information, and I will also share, if it is not already known to you, that you probably have worked with Chris Wishman and Katie Schwing. So I have a bittersweet news to share in that they both are relocating out of state, which means that you all are stuck with me for the time being. If you have any questions, so please feel free to reach me if there are any questions, or if we can provide any help. I should note that please explore those interactive maps and charts and see how your jurisdiction and MPO PDC is impacted. you may find some useful information there. So with that, I will turn it over, and I believe there is a video that summarizes what I just said much more eloquently and in a more visually compelling manner. So if technology cooperates, we can view that, or I'm available to answer any questions.
Thanks, Tender. I'm gonna give this a shot and see if I can make the video work. Let me know if you all can hear this.
I'm not able to. I think that was the challenge.
Yeah.
Okay, that's okay.
We could send a link to everybody.
Okay, great. Thank you again for your time. I'm happy to take any questions if there are any at this point.
Thank you so much for your presentation. If there's any questions? Okay, if we think of something, we got your contact info, but thank you so much, and we'll see you again.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate everyone's time this morning. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye. All right, we'll move on to item 10, transportation updates. And Tiffany, you're up first whenever you're ready.
Thank you so much, Kelly. So I only have a couple items for my agency update today. First is focusing on our fiscal year 2023 grant application cycle. So that just opened on December 1st to some lovely IT issues we've been experiencing. So please be patient as we navigate the ups and downs of Olga and our website going on and offline. However, we are still working with our grantees. The due date for all of our applications are February 1st, 2022. We did host two grantee workshops, one for our commuter assistance programs and then one for our transit and special programs that was held on November 29th and 30th. We do have those webinar recordings available on our DRPT YouTube page. Of note, there are a couple items with this grant cycle. First of all, related to our transit ridership incentive program, we will be accepting for fiscal year 23 applications for regional connectivity. So for those who may not remember, TRIP had two program elements. One would be the regional connectivity, so regional routes essentially, and then the other was our zero fare program. We are completely maxed out in terms of our zero fare funding, but we did see some available funding for regional connectivity. So we will be accepting applications. As the Richmond urbanized area, you are eligible to consider for some regional routes for this program. The other thing of note, we have been instructed by FTA to let any of our MPOs know that for Section 5310, you should be anticipating intent to apply letters from any human service agencies or any agencies that either are located in or serving in an urbanized area. Mainly this is for Ken. But you all have a deadline of December 31st this year. The main change is that with FTA, they are asking that the 5310 projects should be reflected in MPO tips under their award year. So typically you would have it, we would ask it's FY23, so the FY23 shows up, but they're asking it to be aligned with the federal fiscal year. So it will now be, FY22. We'll provide a little bit more guidance when we have the award notices in April, but I am just trying to give some heads up ahead of the end of the deadline for the intent to file letters. Last is just our equity and modernization study. We did have a presentation at the December CTV meeting by Grant Sparks. We are hoping to have that all finalized and sent to General Assembly if it's not already been sent. And we will have all of the information uploaded on our study website, which is vatransitequity.com. I feel like I have to plug that every month. So that will have the interim report as well as additional content, and then we'll be working in earnest on the other half of our deliverable, which is the final study report, including an action plan. You will be seeing in the next few weeks an invitation for, I believe, I might get the name wrong, but it's like an equity workshop or forum that we'll have for a lot of our stakeholder partners that will kind of bring together some of the efforts that we've had with the focus groups and then our technical working groups and so forth. So as that information is shared, I'll be sending that along to the TPS staff to share with you all. And that is all for my update. And if I don't get a chance to say it, happy holidays. It has been a wild year. This is probably the most festive and the most proud I've ever been in my house in the past like 18, 20 months. But I want to say thank you to you all for your patience as we kind of are still navigating through things, and it is always a pleasure to serve with you all.
Thank you, Tiffany. Your tree is awesome. Looks very pretty. Okay, I don't believe Adrian's here, but Ms. Robinson, do you have a report for GRTC?
Good morning. I just have a quick report today. As far as update goes, we do have our December board meeting for GRTC next week on the 21st. And then project-wise, we are still working on our microtransit feasibility study and our regional transportation plan, which are both progressing. The microtransit study just finished up its first round of public outreach. So our consultants, Microbaker, are diving into that, and we'll have some more results from that outreach process. And I think that's it for my quick list.
All right, thank you very much. Next, we have John with Ride Finders.
Good morning, Madam Chair.
Morning.
We are working with GRTC and Met Global on GRTC's telework plan. We're also working with GRTC, as Ms. Robinson said, on their microtransit survey. I know the survey just ended on Sunday, I believe. We did post that to our social media outlets. We also put a QR flyer on our front door to get any of the traffic there on Main Street, where people could scan that QR code and take that survey as well. We did contact Southside Relief Organization regarding the distribution of trees throughout the communities that have been identified as urban heat deserts. And we're looking to partner with them on any upcoming events where Ride Finders can work with them in planting trees in those heat deserts that have been identified. We did also continue to promote the 40 Days of Good for 40 years of service for our 40th anniversary, continuing to encourage commuters to be the CEO of their commute, as well as promoting our second annual Greener Holiday Pledge, which promotes a sustainability holiday season through the green actions such as walking or biking or short distances instead of driving, which helps reduce the emissions. And Madam Chair, that's all that I have, and wanted to wish everybody a happy holidays as well. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Same to you. And Ms. Mueller for the VDOT update.
Yes, thanks, Kelly. Good morning.
Morning.
I'm sharing my screen for everyone. I'll start with a quick CTV recap. There were no November CTV meetings held due to the upcoming holidays. The December CTV meetings were held last week. They had a packed agenda at their workshop meeting. As always, you can access the agenda and all the presentations at the link provided. I've listed some of the most relevant presentations. They had 2 presentations on Smart Scale. The first one was the evaluation of Smart Scale project performance, and the second one was on the round 5 proposed changes. We just heard from Jitendra on VTrans strategic actions. I saw Chet posted the link to the video in the chat. That's a really cool video, so I highly recommend watching that. Nick Donahue presented twice. The transportation revenues and opportunities part 1 was presented on day 1, and part 4 was presented on day 2 if you want to watch it on the CTV recordings. There were 3 presentations that they didn't get to, and those were postponed to next month. At their action meeting, the board adopted the policy for the development and monitoring of the VTrans long-term risk and opportunity register, and they adopted the VTrans strategic actions. They also approved the revised fiscal year 2022 annual budgets for the CTF and for VDOT, and they approved the allocation of funds made available to the Priority Transportation Fund, which includes funding for various fall line trail projects to be identified for $42.7 million. They also adopted the updated Smart Scale project prioritization, which includes the round 5 proposed changes. The next workshop meeting will take place on January the 11th at 10 a.m. and the action meeting will take place on January the 12th at 9 a.m. Moving on to Smart Scale Round 5, the updated technical guide is anticipated to be released in early 2022 before pre-app opens in March. Just as a reminder, the concept and application development assistance is available now through VDOT Richmond District. You can reach out to Jake. And I also wanted to include 3 links to the updated potential for safety improvement list that is now available. The first link will take you to the SharePoint, to a spreadsheet. The second link will take you to a new PSI tool. And the third one is to the GIS online map. If you missed the pre-scoping training on December the 2nd, that is available on the Smart Scale website. Moving on to Fall Line News. I think as we all know by now, the CVTA took action to allocate $104.5 million of CVTA regional funds toward projects of the Fall Line Trail. And I thought I would share great news twice. The CTV allocated $42.7 million of funding for various Fall Line Trail projects yet to be identified. And last but not least, there are currently no public hearings coming up in the TPO study area. And that's my update, Kelly.
Thank you, Nicole. There's a lot going on in the world of transportation. Okay, got the future meeting topics on page 22. Let me just glance at those quick if anyone has any comments or questions about those. Looks like there's about 7 different things, so we got some things coming up for the future. And I'll flip back. Just echo everyone and wishing you happy holidays and happy new year. And I guess we'll see everybody in person January 11th. So we're keeping the same Tuesday schedule, 9 o'clock, I assume.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, and like you said, Chet, just send everybody some reminders because it's going to be weird getting back into the swing of things.
Sure thing. I did want to share an update. I got an email from Richard Duran, who was our federal highway rep until recently, and the federal certification review is still in process. And we hope to have a draft back of that report maybe by the end of the calendar year, if not first thing next spring. So that is still underway. Just wanted to give everybody a quick update.
Yeah, I skipped that. I'm sorry. Does anyone else have any comments or updates? Okay, if not, then we'll see you all in January.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. Meeting adjourned.